I think we're finally going live. My apologies to all the viewers that tuned in. I saw a couple people tune in. So thank you for that. I'm just still checking that we are here. Thank you, Fran, for your patience.
Girl, the devil is a liar. Not tonight, Satan. Not tonight. No.
It's too early to have me choking in this interview. We have no idea what happened, but we're just glad that it worked out and that we are finally live to talk to you, Miss Mafia Mom. Welcome to the Crimson Edge. Don't let it frustrate you.
Technology.
Anyone that doesn't even have technical issues, the very best of us do.
Yeah,
How are you?
It's not perfect, you know.
I know. How are you doing on this lovely evening?
Well, it's not a bad day. As we were talking earlier, today is my son's birthday, my oldest. He's 14 today. So that was fun, celebrating with him. And thank God for technology, even though it gives problems sometimes. We were able to celebrate with family all over the world, from Tokyo to the UK, Canada, US, just all over. So it was really fun.
Good. So we are here to talk to you as Mafia Mom and the meaning of that, because a lot of, well, I know I certainly relate the mafia to crime and what else do I relate it to? Brokering, enforcing illegal activities. But it's organized, it's structured, it's, you know, a lot of things that we don't associate someone that looks like you to be. Yes, so tell us about the name Mafia Mom.
Well, as you said, it's organized, it's structured, and anyone who used to watch like The Sopranos knows the women were what we call it. You know, they said behind every man, good man is a woman, but those women, they got things moving and going. Also, if you look at the root word, mafioso, where the word mafia comes from, it talks about doing things with swagger. And I think when you're a mom of boys and you're doing it alone, you got to do it with some swagger. And you have to be organized and in control. It's not an easy job, but it can also be fun.
Okay, so tell us, are you the only Mafia Mom? There are many Mafia Moms?
There are actually quite a few. When I relaunch, I have even started to gather some interviews. I interview other single moms who raise boys on their own, boys who are now men of good rapport, well-adjusted, successful family men, and the list goes on and on. So I've done interviews with other Mafia moms who have done it. And, you know, even though we hear that a woman can't raise a man and boys that are raised by women alone, you know, the outcome is not so good, there are many examples out there. So I have some interviews that I'll be sharing.
So let's dive a little, because you're tuning in all the way from Jamaica, the beautiful island of Jamaica. How is life there in COVID-19, especially having two young boys?
Oh, Lord have mercy. They're going to, if Bellevue was still around, that's where I'd end up. Yeah, being cooped up at home with these two boys, especially one that's very energetic, it can take its toll on you. So you have to find ways to get some alone time and to depress and breathe, you know, but it's really interesting times, really interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, earlier I had a Zoom meeting with one of the boys' school with how they plan to progress, and it's scaring me. I'm actually thinking about homeschooling. I don't know if I want to take that chance, you know?
Yeah, we're certainly living in scary times. I think if I had little ones too, I would certainly consider homeschooling because the risks are great. I don't think there's enough known about this virus, and everything they've said to us has proven not to be true. You have strong, healthy people you have young kids that get sick. So until more is known, I think we have to do right by our children. And,
Exactly.
obviously they can infect us as well.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
I
everything we've
also,
discussed.
right, part of being a mafia mom is the amount of things you have carrying. Also take care of my elderly mom, and I worry about that. If they go to school and bring it back, I might be able to survive, but my mom surely won't be able to. She's
Yeah.
going to be 19 a couple of months,
Oh, bless her.
And I wonder if when you watch the news, there's schools all over that open, and within 3 weeks they have to close. So I'm saying, why are we taking the risk? We see what's happening. Why we think it's going to be any different here? So I wait and see.
Yeah. So let's talk about being a mafia mom. You got married, you did everything right?
Oh yes, yes.
Okay, you fell in love?
I waited until I got married because I got married at 36. Had my first child at 38, my second at 40. So you see, I really waited. So I'm no spring chicken. And so
but you look springy. I don't want to call you a chicken, but you look young and healthy. I could never tell.
I try my best. But I did it the right way, as people would say, and still here I am, doing it alone. Yes, their father is involved. He doesn't live in Jamaica, so I don't have that support system. If he was here, he would be supportive physically, but he can't be. He doesn't live here, and I'm the only one out of my family, along with my mom, that's still in Jamaica. So that's why I end up with the bulk of the responsibility where she's concerned. So I'm what they call the sandwich generation. When you start a family later in life, so you have young kids and elderly parents, and you're stuck in the middle, taking care of both sides.
Yeah.
So it can be pretty
Well, bless you, because, we see it a lot in America. I don't know about Jamaica, but there are some people that do take care of their elderly, but then there's also a large chunk that are abandoned. They're abandoned in assisted living facilities, and it's sad. So I hope and pray that children continue to take care of their parents as they get older in life, because it's the right thing to do. And if you love your parents, you should do it. So I want to talk about being a mafia mom. So you did everything right.
Yeah.
But things didn't work out. They went south. Were you depressed? Were you, can you give us like high level of how you felt after waiting and going through it the right way according to what society has dictated to us is the right way for years? What did you go through during that period?
Oh Lord, the whole gamut: depression, anxiety, you name it. I went through it. And, the sad thing is, I was involved in the church then, and there were no help. Actually, kind of felt like they didn't know what to do with someone like me, divorced, you're like damaged goods or something. So, there was really not much support there in terms of, oh, we'll get you through this. So it was a lonely ride, and at the time, I tell people that it kind of reminds me of Job's story in a sense. At that time when my marriage was breaking down, I lost my dad. I was pregnant with my second son when everything fell apart. And by the way, a major part of this whole thing was, I don't even remember the whole Olint and Worldwide saga. Lost a lot of material stuff. House, car, everything went, money, all of that was gone. Then my dad died. And then my mother was ill and we weren't sure what was happening. So she was behaving a little weird. So at the time when I was running to my mom for support, she was just not there mentally. She was, and I don't like bringing it up because it was because of her illness. And that's why it was so hard. I grew up with a very loving mom, and at that time, she wasn't very loving. So believe me, I felt alone. And so there were some people that were considered friends that's the time they took the opportunity to kind of kick you below the belt. You know, it was truly a joke moment. So it was hard. It was really rough.
So were they your friends or your husband's friends, or both your
My friends, my church friends. My church friends. Yeah, that was the
So
time.
at the time that you needed your friends the most to lean on, you know, not financially, but mentally,
Yeah.
they just weren't there. It was more of judgment. We do judge
Oh yeah.
people a lot,
Oh
don't we?
yeah.
And
But I
I
must say,
found that. Go
I do
ahead.
I do have true friends that really rocked with me through that time. But still, you know, when there were people that you thought were close, you know, you prayed together and you studied the Bible together, and at that time it was like, oh well, you know, it's your fault or whatever the thing was. But I really felt, I remember once two ladies who I considered close friends came to look for me after I had my child. And when they left, I was in tears. I was just in tears and down because of what they came with. And I'm saying, even if they truly felt this way, is this the time to approach me about that? You know, so it was little things like that that happened. But I said, thank God I do have true friends who I've had for years from I'm in high school that really stuck it out with me and helped me along. But once they knew, they showed up.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's wonderful. You know, I've learned as I get older and smarter, I want to say that, you know, you realize who your friends are because, you know, like you said, timing is everything. And when you're down for people to say the meanest things or judge you, it's very difficult. But at the same time, they're showing you who they truly
Yeah,
are. So that's
exactly.
the opposite side that I appreciate because it allows me to make my personal choice as far as if you belong in my personal space anymore. Because, you know, it's in those difficult times that you want your friends to be there and you'll know who they are. And that goes
Oh,
for
yeah.
all of us, you know, when we choose to, you know, I've heard negative things and you know, because of what someone else is going through, it's just not the right time. So you bear that burden yourself versus having to tell them, because until you can deal with it yourself, it's hard to lay that on someone else at the same time. So I'm glad, even though some of them showed their true colors, which is really good that they did. Trust me, did.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
then you just make your choice where they belong in your life. But the people that are really there for you, then you can choose to have them because you know those are the real friends that are going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
So if
Oh,
we look
trust
at
me.
that and accept it, we can move on better.
Yeah, trust me, I have no regrets, you know, because
Good.
all of that, even though at the time it felt like I was in the middle of hell, it made me who I am today. And I am a
Yeah,
much better person. I am happier despite everything. I
yeah,
feel good and I like where I am. And, you know, in terms of the so-called friends, I consider it the sifting, you know,
yeah.
when the sifting
So
happens.
this is really deep. Did you walk away or he walked away or you both walked away?
Um, Maybe we both walked away. I think I walked first, came back, then he left.
Okay. And so what were the ages of the kids again? You were
Now
pregnant
or then? Yeah, I was.
then?
The older one was 2.5 at the time, two, and I was pregnant with the younger one.
Okay. And your marriage came to an end. And did you get help? Because I know in the islands it's very difficult for us to get
What kind of
therapy.
help you're talking about?
Therapy.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. No, man, I'm a firm believer in therapy. A firm
Okay.
believer in therapy. I was introduced to it um, as a child. when I used to go to Melrose all age. Oh God, long story again. I grew up pretty middle class, and I went to this prep school, and I don't remember why my mom switched me to Melrose all age, which is now what they call primary. And let me tell you, I tell people about this. They say Jamaica is classist. Well, there's reverse classism because I became a beating stick at that school. You know, I was constantly told, you talk too pretty, you're too brown, you're too this. And I was a beating stick. And one day I decided after this boy broke my nose and my brother came to the school to fight for me, I took a stand and I said no more. And I became like the baddest girl in that school. And I was constantly in fights. So after about the 10th fight, the principal suggested to my mom, maybe I'm acting out, you know, on something. And, you know, and that's the first time I was introduced to therapy. And I liked it. I liked it so much. So I believe, of course, it showed that I wasn't acting out. I was just, but I was acting out. But nothing from my family. It was the change of environment and how I was being treated. And I'm literally a fighter. I'm like that. So when I was at a school, I was not going to sit around and have them beat me every day. So I fought back. So yeah, from that young, I was introduced to therapy. I actually started doing my degree in psychology, but that's when the marriage ended. So all of that fell apart. I love it and I believe in it. And I constantly encourage people to get counseling, seek therapy. So therapy was a big deal for me. It really helped me to get to where I am.
Okay, good. We don't hear that often enough from island people, so thank you. And I'm glad to know you actually liked it. And I know finding the right therapist is also important as well, because that's a deciding factor for people if you're going to continue or not. So tell us, now you're divorced, not a lot of support, a couple friends hanging in there, and you have a baby and a 2.5-year-old. How do you pick yourself up and become a Mafia mom?
Oh boy, that was, because as I mentioned before, my mom was having her own issues. At the time, didn't understand it. But because of course, you know, the usual thing is you move back in with mom. But I just knew I couldn't stay based on what was happening. It was very combative. And so once I had my last child and I got back into the swing of things where work is concerned, I was self-employed and I went back into that. I was able to move out. And can you imagine a 2-year-old and a one, about what? He was about 18 months. I moved out and moved into a small apartment. I was able to buy a small car, moved out on my own, me alone and these 2 boys. Trust me, it was not easy. It was not easy. There were so many. I remember when I got them into, what do you call it, nursery or preschool. And I remember, you know, I dropped them off by 6 in the morning and I picked them up back at about 4 or 5. And once it hit 3 o'clock, I'd have a panic attack when it was time to go and get them because I didn't know how I was going to manage. And then my youngest, very clingy, has always been clingy. And, you know, babies, they cry all night. I'm working during the night, trying to get stuff done during the day. So I was sleep deprived. I was just not coping at all. I would literally have panic attacks every evening when it's time to pick them up and just to figure out, how do I do this? So, yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of imagine. A lot of women can relate to what you're saying. I know I can relate. I had a newborn baby when I separated, and had to move from California to Florida with a 3-month-old. But I didn't want to stay in a relationship that wasn't going to work out. So I just knew I had to do what I had to do as well. So as moms, Mafia moms, we just do what we have to do for our children, the love of our children, and our determination and obviously with God's guidance and protection as well over us. So how do you raise, you're in Jamaica, and how are you raising these young men? Happy birthday to the oldest one, by the way, again.
Thank you. I do want to point out before, though, that hindsight, a lot of what I went through in the beginning wasn't because I didn't have the help, but I was never taught how to ask for help. My mom is a mafia mom herself, a very strong woman, self-employed all my life, had her own businesses. I've never seen her ask for help. And so I grew up the same way. So I didn't know how to ask for help. I remember days when I was sick, in pain, and I would get up out of that bed, take them to school, then maybe drag myself to the doctor. The doctor would be like, how did you get here? Did you drive yourself? And I said, yes. And he's like, and you didn't pass out on the road? You know, or I'll get up in the evenings, I'm sick, and I had to go pick them up. And all of that, it took me a while, and it took therapy, because I just didn't know how to ask for help. I wouldn't ask for help. I didn't know how. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. I didn't want to reach out. And I know a lot of single mothers do the same thing. I've talked to many that do the same thing. What I find is that people are willing to help. I remember joining a Facebook group. This is just a group, but we, you know, a mom group. And we were, you know, the what do you call it? The atmosphere was very nice, and we got along. We've never met each other face to face. And I saw people in that group jump around to help someone else. I remember one morning I got up and I went to the group and I said, I can't move. And everybody was like, Fran, what's happening? And people started inboxing, what's your address? What's your address? And by the end of the day, there were 5 people at my house. One is picking up my kids. One is bringing me soup. People are willing to help. You just have to, you know, drop the ego, get rid of the pretense, whatever it is, and ask. And that, believe me, since then, I've not stopped asking. Thank God my friends are tired of me.
So thank you everyone that's tuning in and enjoying this conversation this evening with Mafia Mom. So yes, I think a lot of it is we also don't want to hear the words no. Like, I know I don't want to hear no. If I ask for something, I want a yes. I don't think I handle rejection well.
I'm good with rejection. I don't know. I think it's the way I was raised. We don't ask for help. You know, we don't.
Yes. Yeah.
You do it on your own. You do it or you don't bother.
But yeah. Then you do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Lately, we've also heard a lot about check on your strong friends, because a lot of times, you know, because we don't ask for that help, people think you're always okay, and we're not always okay, right? On the outside, on social media, at work, we seem to be okay, but when you talk to your real friends or your true friends, they really know that it's not always the case. So I'm glad.
Yeah, I've had friends who will say, you know, it's funny, it was hard in the beginning because I'd reach out. And there were people that would say to me, what, friend, you know, you'll be all right, man. You always bounce back. You always know what to do. And it was like, wow. So they didn't even get it that what I'm doing is I'm reaching out to you. I need help from you. They were like, you always bounce back. And I've had people say to me, hey, be careful, you're letting this single mommy thing look too good. Because, yeah, we get up, we get dressed, and we get moving, and we smile as we're doing it, even though we might be, you know, dying on the inside. So, yeah.
So tell me how, as a single mafia mom, you are raising these young men to become future fathers. What are you doing to impact change in society with your sons?
Well, it's called mindful parenting or conscious parenting. It's very different from the Caribbean way of raising our kids, especially our boys. You know, one of the things that came home to me with raising boys is that, and I usually get the roll eyes or the side looks when I say this, but the sad truth is, a lot of the issues men have is because of their mothers. A lot of boys experience physical abuse from their mothers. And I'm not judging anyone because trust me, I get it. My boys can tell you, it's a joke in here now. I'll threaten to knock them out, knock them into next week. I will threaten. I'm like, right now, just feel like I want to knock you out. And they push you. And especially when you have a lot on your plate and there's just a lot on your shoulders and you're overwhelmed. And the Caribbean way is to, bust, the Americans say, whoop their ass. Jamaicans will say, bust them ass, and that's the first thing we go to. And luckily for me, I didn't grow up with a mom who beat. I think she spanked me maybe twice in my life. I remember it clearly. And, it was barely a spank. One of them, I think I laughed at her. But that's not how I was raised. And I don't spank my boys. I think I spanked one of them. And funny enough, I was just at my wit's end. And it was suggested that I spank him. And after I did that, I was the one crying. I felt so bad. And I'm saying, but really and truly, what the beating going to do? What the spanking going to do? What is he going to learn from it? Is he going to learn where he went wrong? Is he going to learn what to do next? And because what spanking does is put the fear of God in them. So they're afraid to do anything. And funny enough, I try to tell a lot of adults that a lot of the issues you have now, fear of speaking out, fear of, being bold, being forward, it's because of the beatdowns you got when you're young. So, and that's why we didn't speak out when we were young, because we're scared of being spanked. Or the first thing your parent look on you and says, who you chat to, you're bright. But my boys, very bright, and they speak up for themselves, and I encourage that. Because one of the things is we tend to like to shut our boys down if they cry. What you cry for? Man up, you're supposed to be a man. Stop the bawling. And then we wonder when they become men, why can't they express themselves? But we stop them when they're kids, so how are they going to learn to express themselves? So just some of the things I chose to do differently. A lot of the examples I got from my own mom and then others I've read about. And I came to the realization that these children are people with feelings and opinions. And my mom was great, but my dad, as I used to say, he used to calm me down when I was young. And if I tried to talk up, he shut me down. And I hated it. And I told myself, I'm not doing that to my kids. So sometimes I'm at them, and especially the older one, he says, you need to listen to me. And I want to, because it's natural to go back to the old Caribbean way. Listen to what? You're picnic. But I stopped myself. And I said, okay, let's sit down, let's talk. We do a lot of talking in this house, to the point that sometimes they look at me and say, Mom, we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to talk.
I've done some episodes on this very topic using my personal journey as well. So I can certainly relate, and I'm sure a lot of viewers can relate as well, especially growing up in the Caribbean, especially being beaten. And, for us in America and overseas, as well as home as well, as young mothers, because you're young despite the old chicken title, right? But we're younger than our parents' generation. And I think you do want some of what your parents or grandparents, a lot of us raised by grandparents, you take the things that you think are worthwhile from each parent or grandparent, and then your own values and what you're learning along your journey to create a better and stronger foundation for your kids. I'm a mom that doesn't spank her kids either, because I know when I got my beatings and they were horrific, I just said, I'm taking them for the next couple generations. So I have this thing where I say I broke the cycle, and my kids will say that to me as well. Thanks, Mom, for breaking the cycle, because I have those communication conversations with them as well. And they know, I don't believe you should beat your kids to get results. I think it's
a cop out, really. It's laziness.
It is. It's anger. It's something that's been passed down for generations. Sometimes your parents don't even know what they're beating you for.
Exactly.
If they would take time out to chill and calm down, then they're not going to beat you. Like you said, you felt guilty. You wanted to cry after you beat your kid. So it's, to me, and I'd love people come on the show and tell me otherwise, but no one has so far. I just think beating needs to go away. I mean, most times your kids do not want it. So the beating doesn't justify the crime that they committed because they can fix it. I found like if you punish your kids, they hate the punishment more. They would want you to beat them. If you take away something they really like or they can't go somewhere, they hate that. So I can agree with that. So how are you making these young boys men? What are some of the things you're doing around the house? Because I went on your blog and you talked about having them fix stuff in the house and having them figure it out. So tell our viewers who have now gone to your blog what that's about.
It comes from the fact that a lot of times you hear a woman can't raise a man or raise a boy to be a man. And I always ask the question, two questions. What can a man teach a boy that I can't? Is it to stand up and pee? Is it how to pick up girls? Because I think I can, guide him better that way as a woman in how to approach a woman. What is it? And I'm not saying that a man isn't important. I believe that every child, boy and girl, needs both energies to become balanced. We need that balance. There's a reason there is male and female. We need both energies for that balance. But at the end, and if we're honest, no matter if the woman is married, the man is there in the household, who is really raising the kids? Let's be honest. Who is raising the kids? It's the woman. So when they talk about
a lot of times, I think there's some men out there that probably, but it's minimal. Generalizing, it's women. Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, as turn of the century, nowadays I must admit, it's so lovely to see men engaging their kids on a different level. We're working on getting rid of terms like daddy's babysitting. What the hell? Babysitting? He's her father. He's not babysitting. He's doing the same thing the mother does when she's alone with the children. So I like the fact that we're getting rid of terms like that men, are, one thing I can say about their father, which is one of the things that pulled me to him. There's nothing in the house he can't do. He's a great cook. He cleans, he washes, he does everything. He can do everything. So, I'm happy we're moving away from those stereotypes now. And so my boys, because when they spend time with their dad, they see him in the kitchen. They see him doing stuff around the house. So, they have that example from a male. Even if he wasn't around, I've been blessed with a lot of male friends, some from my childhood, and they have been very good male models for my son. They're men I would definitely encourage my boys to look up to. And that's what we really need, even if it's not daddy. They need that male role model that they can look at and say, this is a well-adjusted man. I like how he lives his life, his family life, and so forth. And so when we go visiting my friend's house with their family, they see how these men operate, even today a friend of mine joked about 14, we can carry him to the club now, so it was a joke. But at least they're ready. My male friends are ready. They're like, oh, just waiting for them to get to 18, man. Waiting for them to get to 18. And I'm happy I have that support where that is concerned. But outside of that, mothers, we are the ones that really set the track. Even if we're living with our husbands, what we allow in the house will show that boy how he should treat a woman, right? How does the mother relate to men, even if she's not a single mom? How does she relate to men? How does she talk about men? I mean, I'm so sick of it when I go on social media. Men ain't bleep, you know. I don't want to say the word. I don't know how I can get on here. But, you know, men ain't this, men ain't that, you know, men this, men that. And I've even reached out to someone and said, do you realize you're raising a son? Are you saying these things in his hearing? You know what I mean? And if you feel that way, how are you raising your son to make a difference? You can't be cussing out men and you're raising a boy. You are the problem then, because we are the ones raising them. So if men are all this, we need to look in the mirror. We need to do something different. So I decided I want to do something different, you know. And I'm sure when they become adults, there are going to be women that have something to say. But at the end of the day, if you really look at it, they've been straight up, straightforward. I've taught them, be honest in all things, be upfront, know what you want, and be honest, no matter what. So that's a part of it. And what you talk about with the blog, same thing. Who doesn't like a handy, you know, a guy that's handy? So there are things, because I grew up that way, you know, growing up. As I said, I see my mother do it all, you know. The flapper ball in the toilet goes, she's the one that fixes it. A washer needs change, fix it. So I grew up the same way. And so when things go around the house, why am I going to spend money and call a plumber? And we're so blessed to have things like YouTube, Google. You can Google anything in this world. So I'll just buy the part and tell them, fix it. And I'm gone. I'm not going to micromanage. I'm not going to say anything. They need to figure it out themselves. And yes, I prepare myself that maybe they don't do it right and I might have to buy the part again, all of that. But I think it's a great learning experience. And I see the look of pride on their faces when, you know, Mom, look, I did it and it's working. And 2 weeks later, it's still working. And 3 months later, it's still working. You know, it gives them a sense of achievement, something as small as that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you shared that, because I read that too. And, you know, I raised a son and a daughter. And when I read that, I said, what a good concept, right? Because I'm like one of those super moms that I just do everything because I want it done. And so taking time out to talk to you or talk to other people and sharing these experiences, we can say, wow, I wish I'd done that. Giving my kid a tool or a part and say, figure this out. And like you said, there's YouTube University. Right. So why spend the money? And they're learning, and then it's a sense of accomplishment as well. So it's a great way for single moms that are raising sons to have their sons be independent of them. Yes. And I think it was a great example to say, we want men that are good with their hands, because you don't want a lazy man who can't fix the toilet and can't mow the lawn. Him can't help with nothing. You have to pay for everything. And what if you don't have the money to pay for it?
Exactly.
So, yeah, raising boys that will be useful in the home and in the home that have a sense of pride is certainly a good tip for moms out there.
Dawn, I have ended a relationship because of that. The gentleman who, I don't remember what it was that happened. And he was looking at me like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? And I'm like, what? I said, fix it. He's like, I don't know how to fix it. I'm like, what? I was like, yeah. You know, call a carpenter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like that. I've done that too. I was seeing someone, I won't even call it dating, and I'm active. I'll play volleyball, I'll come home, mow the lawn, I'll climb up and start trimming the trees. And just because I want to be active, I don't mind the exercise. I'm still young, I'm still healthy, I can do it myself. And I'd rather use my money elsewhere for things I really can't fix. But when you have a man and he can't even mow the lawn or do the stuff, you're like, really? I don't want to be more manly than the man that's around you. Yeah, I can certainly relate to that. So what exactly is a Mafia Mom? Because there's a couple Mafia Moms out there. As we wrap up this show, I want you to tell us what a Mafia Mom is, how you're raising those two boys successfully by being a mafia mom. Your mom was a mafia mom too, so that strength was passed down to you as well. So tell us what a mafia mom is in your words.
Well, a mafia mom who are raising boys and killing it. She's doing a good job of teaching them how to be men. And actually, I really don't like to say she's teaching them how to be men, because I don't believe it's our job to teach them how to be men. I mean, I've asked the question all the time, what is a man or what is a real man? And everyone basically had different answers. So I do believe that when they become an adult, they decide the type of man they want to be. So a mafia mom is someone who is dedicated to raising decent human beings, because I do believe that's what's lacking in this world. And that's the first thing we need to consider. She insists on raising decent human beings. Boys that know how to communicate, who are in touch with their feelings, who knows how to monitor and manage their feelings, so emotional maturity, emotional integrity, emotional intelligence. I mean, now when you read, you keep reading that it's more important to have EQ instead of IQ, you know, and we can see it that people lack emotional intelligence. So for me, that's important with my boys. When I tell people that we have once a week, we have family time where we sit and talk, and they can tell me anything. Well, they can always tell me anything, but you know, we talk about what's happening in our family and our vision for the family and all of that. And one of the things we do is we read. And the book we're on now is The Road Less Traveled. And when I tell people that, I go, huh? You're a boy, it's 11-year-old? I say, yes. And they enjoy reading it and learning about character and what's it called again? The dysfunctions and just all the different things. And they love to take the time out to tell me when certain things come up in the book. You know, Mom, you do that. You know, so it's raising boys to be in touch with themselves, to be decent human beings, and boys that will add to the society and not take away from it. Because we hear too many bad things about men and about boys, and we as mothers, we have the power. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. We have the power, and we don't do anything with it. You know, we toss it away, we blame the men. And we need to stop that. It's old, it's tired, constantly blaming men. We are now raising men, so what are we going to do different? So the mafia mom is the one that insists on doing it different.
Yeah, and I agree. If you talk to men think they get the short end of the stick, and we do blame them, even though some of them probably do need to get blamed for a lot of stuff. Okay. But at what point do you stop blaming and take responsibility and raise your children, whether it's boys, girls, and not blame the man anymore? And I think it's nice to see a woman talk about it too, because so many times you hear men say it's the woman why they're not around their kids as much. Because of the attitude, because we haven't forgiven them for the hurt that they've caused us. We use the kids as weapons against them. You know, there's some beautiful relationships or examples of relationships where you have to learn to co-parent. And the sooner you start doing that, the better it is for your mental space and stability, and then for your kids. Because if you're not happy, it's hard to make anyone else happy as well.
Exactly. Because so, one of the things I had promised myself is that it's all about these boys. They didn't ask to be in this world. So why am I going to put all of this on them? It's not their fault. And as you talk about that, my ex-husband and I, we have a pretty good relationship now. You know, we talk about the boys, whatever. He has another family now, and they're all integrated and all of that. And it's not perfect, but it's really good. And I remember when the marriage just ended, we used to argue a lot. And a lot of it was because we were both angry and hurting. And this is where therapy came in and helped me to realize that and to let go of that. And once I was able to let go of that, even though he didn't start at the time, there was a huge change in our relationship. So it just takes one person. To be honest, I think it takes the woman, because the man will not be carrying anger. But if that woman is carrying the anger, it's set. I mean, if we women really understood the power we have, that we carry the energy in the relationship. So it's really up to us.
Yeah.
And so I had to let that go. And every time I got angry or I wanted to do something, because I promised myself, because I never heard this from my mom either, I will not talk bad about their father to them or in front of them. I will not try to dissuade them. And this is another thing, mothers, I really want mothers to understand this. I had to let go of how I expected my ex-husband to parent. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. Because we go around saying, oh, he doesn't call him, he doesn't call that much, and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. I had to get to the point where I say, you know what? He has to do it the way he wants to do it. I cannot change him, ladies. We cannot change them, even when we divorce from them or break up from them. We cannot change them. We have to accept them and allow them to be the father they want to be. Because even if we were still with them, there would still be that difference in parenting. So I had to let that go. I had this expectation, he must call twice a week and he must, engage the children this way or that way. And I had to let go of all of that. So guess what? If a month passes and don't call, that's not my problem. When he calls, even sometimes when he calls late, I accommodate it. Before I used to get up in arms, you know what time it is, what time it is. Let that go, man. Because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. If that's when he calls, that's when he calls. He talks to the kids. And when I let that go, as I said, the more I let go, it's the more I saw changes in him. It was Will Smith that said it in one of the Red Table Talks, that mothers, you have to allow the men to be fathers. We really sometimes, and look, yes, for those who are probably rolling their eyes, we know that some drunk are out there, right? We know that. We know that they're the ones, the narcissists, that no matter what you do, and by the way, I can help women in co-parenting with narcissists. There is a way to do it. You just have to understand how. But I get that. But there are those who are willing and able. And here's the sad thing. I don't want to cuss and say, oh, if he really wanted to be in the child's life, he would fight for it. Not everybody's a fighter. Again, I have a lot of male friends and I've seen it. And maybe that's what helped me too. Having the male friends and seeing their side of the story and hearing their side of the story. I remember I had a friend who he has separated, and I was with him when because he came back to Jamaica, his family is still abroad, and he Skyped, those days was Skype, he was Skyping with his kids, and the mother was so combative and angry and all of that, and I had to sit back, and it reached home because it kind of sounded like me. But hearing it from someone else, it was like, oh my God, why is she behaving that way? But I had to realize at the time too, I was kind of that way. And I saw him sit back, and I know he came back home and he was struggling. And yes, she was arguing about the money and all of that. And she has a right to, because it takes two to raise kids. But what I realized, he was so broken and defeated. You have to know the man. He just really didn't know what to do. And I had to advise him and say, look, it is $20. Because, in the States, they have this lunch ticket or thing. So he could just send it straight to the school. And I had to say, if it's $20, send it to the school. I said, as a woman, I can tell you. And I said, some women aren't grateful, but try it. And maybe you'll see her respond differently. Because for some reason, he didn't think about it. And that's what we have to realize. Some people just don't think. And when I said it to him, he did it. And he came back to me and he said, Fran, she was appreciative of it, even though it was $20. And the next time it got to 50, and it went on and on until he was able to totally support financially his family. So again, sometimes we are the blockage. We're the ones putting up the fences and they don't want to blame the other person. But one of the posts I have when I said, Mom, it starts with you. It really starts with us. And the first thing is we have to let go of the anger and bitterness. I know it hurts, you know, especially if the person walked out of your life, or maybe there was a reason why you had to walk out. But I know it hurts, but we have to get past that, and we have to make it about the children and not us.
Yeah. And when you look back, you're actually thankful that they did walk out. It's just in that moment, it's so difficult. So I want to thank the viewers for tuning in. I see people from Turks and Caicos. Hello, Errol saying, bless up Mafia Moms. Joan Virtue Taylor says she likes the term sandwich family, which you said earlier in relation to raising your boys and your mom as well at the same time, being able to take care of her. Thank you, Paula, Carol, Michelle, Wendy for tuning in. And Sophie, with Auntie Sophie on the Caribbean Edge Kids student, she says, my God kids hate the lecture. I remember her telling her mom to spank her instead of sending her to me for a good scolding. Yes, reduced privilege is a very effective disciplinary tool, meaning take something away from the kids versus beating them. It's so much more effective.
Learn your child's currency. Learn what their currency is, because you can take away something they don't mean none, but learn what their currency is and use that.
I remember with my daughter in particular, very stubborn human being, love her to death, but you know, the worst thing you can do is take away stuff. And, you know, we let her earn it back too. So not just take it away, but she had to earn it back, earn back her cell phone, earn back the privilege of turning on her TV. And she, you know, it fixed the behavior. But I think the beatings have to go away. I would love someone to tell me why in any circumstance you'd have to beat your kid, especially the Caribbean beatings we get are so outdated.
Exactly. And you know, if we look at the root word for discipline, it comes from disciple. Who is a disciple? What does a disciple do? Are we really discipling our kids? So we must set an example, you know. And the thing is, and I get it, as I said, I get it. It takes work to do that, because you have to sometimes sit down and plan out the consequences, plan out, because the punishment needs to fit the crime, you know, and then you have to plan it out. You have to know how you're going to go about it. But what happens is that we react in the moment, and the easiest thing to do is what? Grab something and slap them.
I just think it's passed down for generations. I think if I followed my grandparents or parents' routine, you know, the quickest thing is grab the belt. And most times, like I said, it's out of anger, it's out of misinformation, because there was no communication to even find out what happened. And you can't take the beating back once it's gone.
You know? But I remember when I was advised to beat my son, because this is my last child, very strong-headed, very strong-willed. He's so much like his mother, that's why he gets to me. And when I was asking someone, you know, I don't know what to do, you know, this kid is just, oh man. And the advice was to beat him, because you have to break him. And I think back and I said, why would I want to break my son? I don't want to break him, I just want to guide him. And you know, as I said, what I practice is conscious parenting or mindful parenting. It means think about what you're doing. Think about this. So I was always thinking, and I'm saying, break him. I don't like how that sounds. Why would I want to break him? Because the qualities he has will actually make him a great leader. But no, I want him to submit. So it's for me to find that balance and to encourage him and to guide him, and you know, don't always be so combative. You know, try it this way. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar and all of that. And I see he's using some of the techniques on me to butter me up sometimes.
So that's good. Sounds like you're on the right path and you're raising awesome young men who will also be able to give back to society, give back to women, because women are desperately looking for good men that
I
are
sure
handy and helpful, whatever that good man looks like to them.
that's another whole other show.
It certainly is. So, in closing, Mafia Mom, what would you like to tell the viewers and anyone that's going to tune in and see this episode?
Okay, can I do a plug right here?
Yeah, man.
Okay, well, tune into my blog. I'm going to be launching in another 2 weeks because my new blog, my new website is coming with a whole bunch of things. As I said, I've been storing up on my interviews with other Mafia moms to encourage me and other single moms out there raising boys. These are moms whose sons are now grown men with family of their own, and just, you know, the struggles, the laughter, the anxiety, the love, the fear, the farts, whatever comes with raising boys. And also resources. Even some of the people who have helped me along my journey, you know, the Bliss Center, Linton Smith, who assessed my son for me and has helped me through this journey. So a lot of resources for moms on, you know, just how to get through this whole journey and how to enjoy it. And that's the part, learning how to enjoy the journey, because it can be overwhelming and it can be frustrating, but you can actually enjoy it and learn to enjoy your kids. So check out my blog and keep in tune. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to relaunch with all the good stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. And thanks for joining the Caribbean Edge tonight. Thanks for sharing your advice with us as a single mom, especially in the islands, raising 2 young boys by yourself and taking care of mom. Thanks for your strength and your words of encouragement to other women as well. I'm sure the men appreciate hearing from a woman's perspective tonight as well. So thank you. Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Caribbean Edge. Have an amazing week and we'll see you next week. Bye.